Firstly, let's understand God. But before we even try to understand who God is, we need to ask the most basic question. Is there even a God? To answer that, let's put it in simple scientific language. In scientific terms, you can describe God as an independent source that controls, sustains, and governs everything that is dependent. Let's understand this. When we say something is dependent, we mean it needs something else in order to survive. Take humans, for example. We depend on food, water, air, shelter, temperature, and countless environmental factors. But that's only a human-level example. Now let's expand this idea using a regressive chain of dependencies. Humans depend on the environment depends on the Earth depends on the solar system, and the solar system depends on larger forces. Our solar system is sustained by two major cosmic forces, gravity, pulling everything inward, and cosmic expansion, pushing everything outward. These opposing forces stabilize the universe. Wherever these forces originate from, black holes, cosmic fields, or something deeper, one fact remains. Energy sustains the universe. So the next question is simple. Where does this energy come from? Science traces all energy back to the Big Bang. When the Big Bang happened, matter expanded outward. Gravity and expansion then shaped this matter into galaxies, stars, and planets. But here is where science reaches its limit. Science cannot answer the question, where did the Big Bang itself come from? Before we answer this, we need to understand what a life cycle actually is. Take something simple like a fruit. It begins as a seed, grows into a fruit, and over time it rots and dies. But even in its death, it becomes a cause for other things. It nourishes the soil, feeds insects, and helps new seeds grow. So what does this show? For something to die and become a cause of other things, it must first begin. And for it to begin, something else must have caused it. That means, if something has an end, it must have had a beginning. And if it has a beginning, it must have been caused by something else. This pattern, beginning, existing, ending, and causing, is what we call a cycle of life. Now let's go back to the Big Bang. The Big Bang was an extremely dense, extremely hot origin point. So where did that concentrated energy ball come from? There are two theoretical options. It was always there. It was caused by something else. But option one falls apart. If it was always there, that means it came from nothing, and things cannot come from nothing. Imagine absolute nothingness. Not air, not space, not particles, complete blankness. And suddenly, an extremely dense energy ball appears out of nowhere. Does that make sense? Of course not. So we move to the next option. Something caused it. Something brought it into existence. Science suggests three possible explanations, but none are proven. The most accepted is the infinite density state, singularity. This theory claims all energy in the universe was compressed into an infinitely dense point. Then it expanded, causing the Big Bang. In simple words, everything already existed squeezed into one point. But the theory avoids the real question. Where did that infinitely dense point come from? Science says it has always been there. But this is illogical, because if something has always existed, it means it came from nothing. It had no cause. It had no beginning. Yet it somehow exploded and created everything. This contradicts logic and science itself. Science says infinity doesn't exist in the physical universe, and everything we observe has a life cycle, a beginning and an end. If we regress the chain, Earth, Sun, galaxy, black holes, gravity, cosmic expansion, Big Bang, dense point, every stage is dependent on something before it. So calling the dense point eternal is just replacing the question, not answering it. If the dense point exploded, which is Big Bang, that means it changed, it functioned. It had a life event. But nothing can change, function, or explode unless it exists within a cycle, and nothing can have a cycle if it was never created. Remember what we discussed about the life cycle of the fruit. It only had a life cycle because something caused it to begin, and the fact that it eventually dies proves it had a beginning in the first place. So the dense point itself must have been dependent, and if we push the cause behind it, and the cause behind that, and the cause behind that, we get an infinite chain. But infinite chains do not exist in the real world. If the chain were truly infinite, nothing would ever reach existence, because every cause would need another cause before it. Therefore, the chain must be finite. The chain must end somewhere, which means there must be one independent being. A being that is not born, has no end, has no cause, does not depend on anything, does not operate through a life cycle, has the will to bring dependent beings into existence, because if this independent being had a beginning or an end, then it would also need a cause, and the chain would become infinite again. So logic leads to one conclusion. One independent, eternal, willful source exists. This source created the dense point, the Big Bang, the universe, energy, matter, and everything dependent. And this independent source is what we call God.